Okay, let's just unpack this right away.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the image is, well, it's unforgettable and kind of a gut punch.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Julia Fox showing up to a Halloween thing dressed as, the one and only Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah. But not just any Jackie Kennedy look.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Not the White House elegance.
Yeah.
Not the pillbox hat perfection. She picked that moment.
She chose Jackie in the pink suit, the Chanel replica, stained with blood, right after JFK's assassination. The visual is just immediately shocking.
It really is. But what's maybe even more compelling is thinking about what that choice means or what she wanted it to mean.
Right.
When I first saw those pictures popping up, honestly, my first reaction was just disbelief. Like, really?
Yeah.
And then, okay, the analyst brain kicked in.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this collision.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, our focus here, it isn't about celebrity gossip, not really. We want to explore that razor-thin line between making a challenging artistic statement and public sensitivity, personal sensitivity, and just the sheer weight of this national trauma that still lingers.
And it's crucial, I think, to get Fox's defense out there right away, because she clearly anticipated the backlash. She didn't call it a costume.
No, she called it a statement. Very deliberate word choice.
Yeah, a statement she said was about trauma, power, femininity, that sort of thing.
She framed it as this intentional act symbolizing strength, refusal. Refusal to hide the pain after something catastrophic happens.
So that really sets up the core tension for us, doesn't it? Was this, a brilliant, layered, maybe incredibly provocative commentary on resilience and image?
Or was it just shock value? Shock for attention, kind of dressed up as performance art. Let's see what the sources suggest about the power of the original image versus, the problems with recreating it.
Okay, so if we dig into Fox's claim first, she seemed to be trying to position it as this, sophisticated take on how women process immense pain.
Right, and turn into resilience somehow. It was meant to symbolize Jackie's strength in that moment of just absolute public devastation.
And to really get the weight of that symbolism, you kind of have to go back to the original event.
Yeah.
The sources are clear on this. The history confirms it. Jackie Kennedy did refuse to change out of those blood-stained clothes.
They basically begged her to change before LBJ took the oath on Air Force One.
Right. But she wouldn't. She stood her ground.
And that quote, it's just burned into history, isn't it? I want them to see what they've done.
That quote is everything. It's the key to this whole thing, really. That single action, that refusal, it turned a horrifyingly private moment into this immediate, public, devastating political statement.
Yeah. Her elegance, that iconic suit, suddenly just drenched in violence. She basically used the image, the suit itself, as this visceral proof of accountability.
Exactly. A literal bloody shield. It's that contrast. Absolute elegance and absolute horror, beauty, and grief. That's the symbolism Fox was trying to tap into.
She's trying to reclaim it, maybe, 60 years on, as a kind of performance of resistance. But, and here's the big but, is it possible? Can you reclaim something that belongs so deeply to history and to someone else's personal grief?
That's the crux of it. Fox is looking at Jackie's original act as this historical performance of strength under insane pressure. Jackie used her grace like armor, but when Fox tries to replicate that today, well, we crash right into the problem of context and collision.
The nuance trap, as they say.
Yeah.
Where the artistic intention just gets totally lost in the setting.
Pretty much. Why did it fail for so many people? It boils down to timing and, the context. A party.
A Halloween party.
Right. You have to picture the scene. Halloween's about, playful horror, fun costumes, people dressed as, what did you say earlier, vampires and tacos?
Something like that, yeah. Party costumes.
It's fundamentally not the place for a raw, heavy commentary on national trauma, political assassination, personal grief. The vibe is just catastrophically wrong for that kind of serious message.
Okay, but let me push back just a little. Could that be part of the statement? The jarring irony. Forcing this incredibly uncomfortable reality into a space where everyone's trying to escape reality. Like throwing this grenade of history into a fantasy party. Isn't that itself a potentially powerful, if maybe aggressive, artistic choice?
That's a really interesting angle. And honestly, if she'd done this in, say, a gallery or a very controlled, stark photo shoot, that irony might land as critique.
Right. Different setting, different message.
Exactly. But the second it's at a party with flashing cameras, cocktails, mingling, It stops feeling like critique and starts feeling like something else. Something we could maybe call trauma couture.
Okay, let's define that, because I think that term is pretty central here.
Trauma couture. Well, in this context, it's using imagery or clothing tied to real suffering, real tragedy, especially historical trauma for fashion or sensational effect.
Like making trauma trendy.
Sort of, yeah. Artists have used similar ideas to provoke thought about memory and pain. But today, with social media moving so fast, it almost always just looks like exploitation.
Because the platform shapes the message.
Yeah.
And the platform here is Instagram feeds, party pics.
Precisely. Social media just isn't built for complexity, for nuance. You get one photo, maybe posed, surrounded by party pics, so that original, awful, powerful moment recreated at a party. It just loses all its gravity. It becomes pure spectacle. The intended statement, if there was one, gets completely lost.
It flips from art as protest to maybe shock as self-promotion. And that's what triggers the backlash, right? Because the internet digests things instantly. It doesn't pause for intellectual debate. It just sees shock value used carelessly.
And then, crucially, you have the people for whom this isn't history, it's personal. When that context collapses, the spectacle isn't just commentary anymore. For the family, it's like ripping open an old wound.
Yeah, that's where it gets really heavy. We know Jackie Kennedy's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, reacted publicly and strongly. He called it disgusting, desperate, and dangerous.
And that reaction just cuts right through all the art theory, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
For him, this isn't some abstract symbol we're dissecting. It's his grandmother. It's profound family pain. That pink suit isn't just a historical artifact. It represents the day his family's world shattered. Seeing it turn into a Halloween costume, you can only imagine how violating that must feel.
Which kind of broadens the lens for us, doesn't it, to how we process trauma, collective trauma, mental health stuff publicly. Especially now in the internet age.
Totally. We're in this weird space where the line between like genuine catharsis and just stirring up controversy is blurry, sometimes deliberately blurry.
Yeah.
The sources point out this interesting thing. The internet seems to reward vulnerability, but only if it's palatable, like neat and tidy, aestheticized almost.
Right, it's Instagrammable trauma.
Exactly. But real trauma isn't neat. It's messy, it's ugly, it's difficult. Fox's choice was definitely messy and ugly, which maybe is why she claimed it felt real to her. But because she delivered it in this polished celebrity party context, it just came across to a lot of people as tone deaf, opportunistic even.
And it taps into something deeper, doesn't it? This idea of a national nerve. Why does this particular image, 60 years later, still provoke such an intense reaction?
Yeah.
Why does the JFK assassination still feel like an open wound for so many, even people born decades later?
Well, the JFK story, it isn't just politics, is it? It represents the specific kind of American trauma, the shattering of the whole Camelot myth.
Yeah, the idealism, the youth.
Right, all that promise. The 60s were already turbulent, but the assassination felt like this violent rupture. It really damaged public trust, I think. Trust in institutions and safety, maybe even in the idea that good intentions win out. That feeling of innocence suddenly violently lost. Maybe it never fully healed.
It's like this historical grief mixed with the feeling that the story isn't finished somehow. And because we haven't fully processed it together, the symbols tied to it are just incredibly potent. Way more explosive than maybe other historical moments.
And that's the key takeaway, I think. Fox's core idea that beauty and horror coexist. That women find resilience, that's actually a really profound thought about life.
Sure, it's relatable.
Very relatable. But the delivery, it lacked the context, and maybe more importantly, it lacked the empathy needed to touch a wound that's still so raw for so many.
Art without empathy can just look like provocation, right? And okay, resilience looks different for everyone. Some shout, some are silent. But when you're dealing with shared cultural pain, context really is everything. It's what separates remembering from exploiting.
And there's actually a very real physical symbol of how raw this trauma still is. Nationally, we know that the actual pink suit, it's locked away, deep in the National Archives in Maryland.
Really? Locked away?
Yeah. Kept out of sight. There are strict rules from when the family donated it. It cannot be displayed publicly until the year 2103.
Wow. 2103, that's nearly 150 years after the event.
Exactly. The family's condition was basically keep this hidden for generations. Why? Because the trauma it represents is still seen as too visceral, too powerful, just too raw for public display.
Okay, wait. The fact that the government and the family agreed that the public, and especially the family, can't emotionally handle seeing the real suit, That says everything about why Fox's recreation backfired, doesn't it?
It really puts it in perspective.
She took an image deemed literally too powerful for the National Archives and wore a version of it to a party with, vampires and tacos.
It creates this incredible friction, doesn't it? You have the family saying, this is private grief, displaying this is harmful, and Fox saying, maybe this is historical resistance, it hides resilience. Both arguments kind of have a point.
But only one seemed to understand the setting, or maybe care about the impact in that setting.
Right. Empathy for the context.
So summing up the tension here, Fox tried using this symbol of historical resistance for commentary, but she crashed right into this deep, ongoing grief, both public and private. That echo from 1963 is still incredibly loud. It proves some images are still too loaded for casual appropriation, even if the intention claims to be deep.
Yeah, it shows image and resistance are powerful for sure, but you can wield them carelessly. And now, with instant viral reactions, spectacle just tends to overwhelm statement every time.
Which leaves us, and maybe you listening, with a final thought to chew on. A question about that original moment's power. If Jackie Kennedy refusing to change her clothes was this potent act of femininity as resistance that shifted things, does turning that resistance into a costume, decades later, actually negate its power?
Or maybe the opposite.
Or is the fact that recreating it even controversially, even clumsily causes such a stir, actually proof that the raw power of that image just endures, regardless of context?
It's an interesting echo to think about. The original power is undeniable, but how we interpret it keeps changing.
Definitely something to think about. Stay curious. Keep questioning the images you see. And remember, context really is everything. We'll be back soon to explore more from the sources you share with us.